Good morning. At least I think it's still morning. I know it's not Wednesday, but I'm going to be working on my Whip It Up Wednesday today, and I'm bringing you along. But I wanted to show you first what I spent this morning doing. I made doggy crackers, and they're also people friendly, though it's amazing the flavors we miss when we don't have them in there. But some very special doggies are going to be getting these doggy crackers for Christmas. Now, I bought a chicken the other day, and I was online last night trying to find something different to do with it. I make a lot of soup, and that's fine because I love soup. But I was looking for something to possibly roast. But, you know, when something hits you in the face, you just got to go with it. Tuscan style chicken stew. This way, I can also use it as my recipe for my savory soup sundae, which is on my blog, The Enabling Cook, www.knifeforkspoon.com. Okay, I bought a whole chicken, I cut it up, and I saved out the backs and the wings, and I'll be using those for stock. I did skin the thigh, what I'm using. The original recipes that I saw called for chicken thighs, skinned, boneless chicken thighs. But hey, even bone-in and thighs with skin would work. And it would be a really inexpensive dinner. Okay, most of the recipes for Tuscan-style chicken stew have the same ingredients. In here, I have 3 carrots, 3 pieces of stalks of celery. Gosh, I just can't think today. And a small onion, all diced up. I'm thinking I may want more celery and possibly more carrots. And if I do, I have dehydrated versions of both as well as canned versions of both. So they're going in the pot on top of the chicken. Onion doesn't want to join the party. It's okay, we'll make him. You can use red onion too if you don't like or don't have yellow onion. Whatever you like. Or have on hand, which is my style these days. I can also add celery seed if I want. The recipes call for a can of tomatoes. I have several jars actually of crushed tomatoes. And so I'm just going to throw in a jar of that. You just put everything on top. Don't bother mixing anything in. Just throw everything on top. Now, most of the recipes for this call for small red potatoes or small white potatoes. Growing up, we used to call them new potatoes. They're the really small ones. If living in where do I live? Jeez, Syracuse. The New York State Fair, they used to call them salt potatoes because you would boil them up and eat them with salt. Now, we had those a lot as a kid, only they were called potatoes with the jackets on because you didn't peel them, and they were usually served with lots of butter and salt. And Mom didn't like the peel, so I got to eat her peels. I'm a little more cautious when it comes to carb content. So instead of using potatoes, though I understand the gold Yukons or Yukon Golds have less carbohydrates, but I have in my dehydrated pantry sweet potatoes. So I am going to use those. I'm not sure how many this would be. Now you'll notice these look like this. Okay, obviously. And I also have dehydrated ones that look like this. These were cooked in the pressure cooker, just water and then pressure cooked. These are roasted. They kind of stuck together, but they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. It will give a couple of different flavors to the soup or the stew, which should be pretty good. And they'll come loose. But you certainly can use white potatoes, yellow potatoes, red potatoes, any kind of potatoes. If I'm going to eat potatoes, I like to get as many nutrients as I can, and that's the sweet potato. You need to add Italian style spices, which are somewhere. Where is another question. Okay, I think, oh, here they are. No, that's sage. Okay, oh, duh. I made Italian dressing the other day, the dry ingredients for Italian dressing. Most of what's in here is what's called for in here, in the stew recipe. Thyme, garlic powder, onion powder, oregano. So I'm going to go ahead and use a couple tablespoons of this. And if you follow my blog, or even when what I post here, I don't put salt in things generally, and that's the same with this. Some of the recipes for Italian style dressing call for salt and sugar. This has neither. I'm going to put a tablespoon and about a tablespoon and a half. I want it nice and seasoned. Now when I made it, I didn't have as much thyme, T-H-Y-M-E, as I'd like in my Italian things. So I'm going to add another half a teaspoon of thyme, dried thyme. You can use fresh, of course, but you'll need to use more. And use the amounts that you like. If you like a lot of it, go for it. If you don't like as much, go for it. If there's something that is in it you don't like, leave it out. I made chicken stock the other day and never got around to canning it. So this is about a quart of chicken stock going in here. Now, the recipe that I base this on calls for adding flour and water to thicken it later in the process when it's almost done. I'm not going to be doing that. I may add some tomato powder, but it's going to depend on how thick it is when it's time to add it, which is about an hour before it's done. I've got it on high right now. Put the lid on it, and I'm going to let it cook. It'll probably take between 6 to 8 hours, I'm not sure. Dot has her own mind about how she's going to cook things, so we'll just have to see. But I'll bring you back when it's time for dinner. See you later. Hello again. It's almost dinner time. Doesn't that look good? I didn't add any kind of a thickener except for the kale. I did add, though kale's not really thickener. I went in and I took the meat off the bone, the chicken, threw in some of my dehydrated kale, and I think it's got a good enough consistency for me anyway for a stew. I was thinking as I was looking at it that I could have made this entirely out of my pantry. You might remember I used fresh carrot, celery, and onions. I have all of that either dehydrated or canned as well. And I also have canned chicken. And I could have used that instead of fresh chicken. But I did have that chicken I just bought and wanted to use. The seasonings are perfect. I'm not having to add anything else. And it's a nice hearty stew for a cold day like we've been having more than enough of lately up here in the mountains. So I hope you'll give it a try. The recipe will be posted on my blog, and I'll put the address below so you can go visit and check it out. It's Tuscan style chicken stew. Bye!